Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Candidates Tournament. This is the most important tournament of the year because the winner will go on to challenge the reigning World Chess Champion in about 6 months' time. This is round number 10 out of 14. The tournament is nearing its conclusion, and Jawakhir Sindarov is having a historic run. Through 9 rounds, he has 7 points. The magic number of victories that you need in a candidate's tournament is 5. He got that already in the first 6 rounds. So really, he's just coasting to the conclusion. The only chance anybody has of making this tournament interesting is beating him. The only person who can really realistically catch him at this point is Anish Giri. Amongst the women, basically anybody can win the tournament. Total pandemonium over there. So without further ado, allow me to get into this recap, because we have not yet crowned a champion, but we are getting dangerously close. In the first part of the tournament, the first half, Sindarov defeated Pragg with the black pieces, and I think that gave him a really big boost, because it was quite clear he's in excellent form, and the very next round he defeated Fabiano Caruana, and then it was like a rocket ship. So Pragg with the black pieces only has 4 points. He's probably not going to win this thing, but you can play the role of spoiler. And so let's see what he's going to do. He plays d4, knight f6. Sindarov plays into a variation of the queen's gambit, and here has a choice. He can maybe play solid. Maybe he does something else. Well, he's going to do something else. He plays bishop f4, and in this line with bishop f4 and black then pinning you with bishop b4, this move is a very direct confrontation against the king, and this knight sometimes jumps there if you take, or goes here, putting pressure, and there's this modern idea where the knight comes to e4, pressuring the knight, and from e4, it also defends g5 along with the queen, and then black goes very unprincipled and launches these g and h pawns forward. It's very, very interesting. Generally, there's a lot of analysis there at the grandmaster level, so that is exactly what Sindarov invites. You see, Sindarov, I have a feeling predicted what Pragg was going to do. First of all, when you have a generational run like this, you're not just in good form and good mood, you also have excellent opening preparations. You have ideas everywhere. When I've been at the peak of my powers 10 years ago in chess, I had many opening ideas. I was ready to spring them onto my opponents. And so that's exactly what Pragg does. Knight e4, queen c2, and here comes pawn to g5. Now, you don't play like this with black to make a draw. You play like this with black to win or lose. I think generally Pragg doesn't care if Sindarov beats him. I think generally he cares, right? But right now, it makes no difference to him because he's in a position where it's do or die. Pragg has to take his destiny into his own hands. At the candidates, you're either first or you're last. That's just the truth. So he plays g5, and he's not going to play for a draw because that impacts him and it doesn't impact Sindarov. So we have bishop back and h5. All of this has been played many times before. Here, Jawakhir spent 7 minutes, which was interesting because normally white advances with the h-pawn, and then you can take here. Sindarov plays bishop d3. I don't think I've ever seen this move. I mean, you basically allow h4 entirely, so you play the move h4, and now Jawakhir, who only really realistically needs to make a bunch of draws until the finish line, after bishop d3 shows what his idea is, he takes the knight on e4, Pragg takes it back, and now the problem is the white bishop is completely trapped. Even though you can take this pawn with a check, the bishop will perish. It's going to be lost. It can be moved to e5, where black plays f6, and now white's bishop has nowhere to go. He's going to lose a bishop. I think Jawakhir went for this on purpose. I think he deliberately went for this because even though he's going to lose a bishop and the position is complete chaos, he has winning chances. This dude is playing for a win. He is playing true to his style. He's not playing for a draw. And now, well, you're about to find out. He plays knight takes g5. What? Knight takes g5 forces black into a very fascinating choice. If you take the knight, you're going to lose the rook, right? You're going to lose the rook to the bishop. But if you take the bishop, which was your original intention, you're going to get forked. King and queen. So you can't actually take either of these pieces with the pawn. What you can do is take the bishop with the knight first and then take the knight. Also, you can trade the bishop for the knight first, so white doesn't have any more pieces remaining. And after knight takes g5, we have this completely insane position for no reason whatsoever. Sindarov has 7 points, man. He has to just not lose. Why would he voluntarily play a position where he is effectively bull riding? I mean, the bull can throw him off, and that's not going to be, it's going to be very painful when the bull then steps on him. But Java here is well prepared. I think so, because he spent 30 minutes getting here. Maybe he was double and triple checking, and then he plays the move f4, and that is the best move. Essentially here, white has 7 pawns, and black only has 5. And black has a bishop, right? So black is up a piece. In chess, the 2 most important things, material and king safety. Black's king is not safe. The D, E, F, G, and H pawns in a very unprecedented type of position are all gone. And there is nothing to protect the king. And white is going to castle. So that is what Sindarov is banking on. Now here, Pragg goes into the tank. It's clear that he might have actually been out-prepared a little bit. And he finds one of the best moves, which is pawn to h3. A nice move disturbing the pawn structure of white. White has multiple choices here. He can castle. He can play rook to d1. The position is just insanely complicated. And apparently, after rook d1, queen e7, Java here does not play the best move. g3 is not the best choice. Apparently, he needed to castle right away, accept this capture, and then pause for a second to play rook to f2. And then black could, for example, threaten a queen trade and a checkmate. And then something like this could happen, and this is a position that could arise. Castles is the best move. g3 is not the best move. And here, if black activates his bishop, he has good chances. And bishop d7 looks really stupid because while you are threatening this move, I can just take on b7. But actually, after black goes rook e8, apparently black is doing fantastic. Like, white can castle, and apparently after something like rook h7, Stockfish prefers black, even though black is going to lose literally all the pawns on that side of the board. a7, c7, maybe you will defend this pawn, and then the chat members that are monitoring every word that I say will say it wasn't literally, so I do apologize. But almost literally. And that's what Pragg had to do. But Pragg takes on f4 first, which is fine. But now Java here castles, and we see that rather than taking back with a queen or a pawn, he might actually take back with the rook, which is very scary. This bishop is controlling some squares, but it is a very dangerous position. Pragg plays rook to h6. And we have rook takes f4 check, king g8, and rook f1. I mean, very natural moves here are being made by Java here. He doubles up his rooks, and he wants to play rook to f7. And that would be a really big problem. Now, black could give away the queen for both of these rooks, and that would be possible, but we are looking at a position where the rook, and the bishop just might not coordinate fast enough or well enough to defend against the fury of the queen against such an open king that really king safety here is everything. But still, you look at this position and you're like, well, probably black should play bishop e6. Now, Pragg didn't go bishop e6 here. He didn't go bishop e6 because after rook f6, you're kind of double attacked. And now the only way apparently for black to survive this position is to play queen h7 and go for this endgame where you are just down 2 pawns, but after rook d8, you're creating counterplay against the king, which cannot escape off of the first rank very easily. So for instance, rook e7, rook here, king f2, rook h1, rook c7, rook h2, king g1, or king f1. And this position is a draw. This position is losing. This position is a draw if white brings the king over here, because white's pawns are terrible. He can play like e6, but the king will very quickly stop it, etc. That is the only way Pragg can proceed, is actually to lose the bishop. Pragg doesn't do that, but the problem is the move that he plays straight up loses the game on the spot. And I can't believe I am saying this, but for the 6th time in this tournament, I am about to show you that Javakhir Sindarov is going to win the game. He plays rook f7. And this is the thing. I think Pragg saw this and was like, well, my bishop and my rook, and then my other rook, and I'm going to survive. Problem is queen f4 check. The problem is that after this check, the king needs to walk over to the defense of the rook, and in the ensuing sequence of checks, you will lose your bishop. King here, I have check, and then I have check, and then I'm going to win your bishop. King g7, I have queen g5, and queen e7. And this is completely unbelievable. Pragg has just lost his bishop. Pragg is completely lost. Maybe an engine can hold this position with black. Maybe. But we are not engines. To quote a great ending to a show, we are not horses. And Javakir Sindarov takes all of Prag's pawns, begins pushing his own. Pragg can only defend himself for so long. The pawns are going to get close. The oxygen for the Black King is going to run out. You cannot defend both rooks. You cannot defend all your pawns. Pragg resigns for the second time in this tournament to Sindarov. Sindarov has 8 points out of 10. 8 points out of 10 is a borderline winning of the candidates tournament historically. He has now won more games in a candidates tournament than any person in this format, and he has done it with 4 rounds to go. This man can literally forfeit. He could leave the tournament. He can go play padel in Cyprus or parasail, and there is a legitimate chance to be made that nobody will ever touch this record. I mean, 6 wins in a candidates is mind-blowing. He has 8 points already. He's not going to forfeit. He has 6... dude, he's won 6 games. And, like... I don't know what to say. I mean, he's got 4 more rounds to go. He straight up might get 10 out of 14 in the candidates if he draws the next 4 games. And I don't think he's going to draw the next 4 games because there is a man in the tournament named Anish Giri, and that's the only person who realistically can stop him at this point. And he is playing Hikaru, and they play in English. And I mean, Anish's big problem is that unlike Sindarov, who basically generates a winning position by just showing up, Anish Giri is not like that. I mean, his wins are, he's got a little bit more of that old school style. And by old school, I mean 30 years old. Like, he's a positional player. He's not playing completely like burn your house down type of games. And in this game against, Hikaru played this anti-queen's gambit, and there was a little, I mean, don't play like this, folks. Don't play chess like this. Not good. In the game, Anish got a little bit of a pull, a little bit of an advantage. He broke in the center with e4. But the moment I thought that this game could get going, it just didn't. Like, he made some nice preparatory moves, and right here, there was only one sharp line, which was very computer-like, and it was knight to g5. The idea is that the rooks see each other, and you can't take the knight because I take the rook, and if you go here, I take here. So here's a cool engine line. Rook e8, knight back to f3, with the idea to put the knight on e5, where it would hit a pawn, a bishop, a pawn, and go to g6 if necessary, if it was unprotected. So look, takes, you can take, but after knight e5, there's a massive attack. And yeah, I mean, this game could have actually raged on for a while if Anish had gone for knight g5, knight f3, knight e5, but that was really the only idea, and he went this way. And it's a similar idea, except everything gets traded off the board. And this is our endgame, and the players just made a draw. So Anish only gets to 6, and Sindarov gets to 8. There are 4 games to go. Sindarov leads Giri by 2 points, and they do have a matchup in round 13. I'm not saying it's going to be too late by round 13, but like if Sindarov wins 1 more game, like it's a wrap. So Anish Giri, 2 more games have to happen before Giri gets his hands on Sindarov. Well, he could put his hands on Sindarov, but I mean, that would be a whole different type of candidates battle. I'm not even sure I pick Anish there. Now, I think Anish weighs like 40 kilos. Like, and Sindarov is Uzbek, all right? I think that, not that you needed to know any of this, but I'm pretty sure either Mongolians or folks from Uzbekistan have the highest testosterone in the world, which probably explains why Sindarov has 8 points out of 10. Anyway, Anish versus Hikaru does not end with anything. There was only this one idea, and there wasn't too much there. Fabiano Caruana in his game plays a winnower French, which is awesome. But yeah, it's difficult being a Fabiano Caruana fan. Can I compare it to being an Arsenal fan? I'm a recent kind of like fan of football generally, and Eberechi Eze, he plays for Arsenal. I'm a big fan of his. I did a collab with him last year when he was in Crystal Palace, and now he's for Arsenal. So I don't know. I don't want to pick a football fandom. It's going to offend a bunch of you. You might unsubscribe, but like I'm getting the sense it's kind of like being an Arsenal fan. And in this game, not much happens. I'm going to be very honest with you. I hate oversimplifying these games because there is really so many complexities. But for the purposes of the tournament and for the purposes of both of the players, opposite colored bishops, not too much. And yeah, Yesipenko, Blue Bomb, like if I could have bet anything on this game, I would have probably called it a draw. Blue Bomb, patches a little bit of a repertoire hole from maybe earlier in the tournament, and these boys just traded their pieces and are absolutely more than happy to return home to Germany, and I don't know where Yesipenko lives. I don't know. Some grandmasters still live in Russia and some moved. But yeah, that was the game. Man, Blue Bomb's having a fantastic tournament. He gets 5,000 euros for every half a point that he scores, and he scored 9 half a points. he's making some money. Yesipenko is mathematically eliminated from the tournament. Boys and girls, Yesipenko has 3.5 points. Sindarov has 8. Sindarov could literally leave, and Yesipenko could win the rest of his games, and he still won't catch him. How's that possible? After 10 rounds, 6 wins for Sindarov. We have never seen anything like this. It's insane. All right, let's move on to the women's tournament because that one's way closer. To kick things off, we have Bibisara Sobayeva versus Zhu Jiner. Now, take a look at your standings over here. This is not the same tournament. This is not the same tournament. This is this might be one of the most hotly contested candidates. I don't want to say ever, because you really do forget. We have a tendency to over-exaggerate, but this is incredibly competitive. Bibisara has 4 points, and she's playing a leader who only has 5.5. So Bibisara with the white pieces, right? We've already seen this. This is a semi-Slav. We've seen this a little bit, 1 or 2 times amongst the men. We have bishop g5, h6. So we don't see a Cambridge Springs, knight bd7, queen a5. We see this, and this line where white gives up the dark squared bishop, black brings the queen out, and white plays a3, e3, because white traded off the dark squared bishop. Now, black here spends some time. The reason she spends some time is the best move is b5. And you got to defend the pawn. I mean, white is like a move away from just getting a very pleasant position. But if you play b5, this is weak. If you don't remember all your lines here, which include knight to e5, knight to e4, queen on h5, she spends 15 minutes. She doesn't play the best move, but she plays just a move. Right? She's just playing a move to get a game. So takes, bishop g7, castles. It almost looks like a Trumpowski. I've played some positions in my life where you trade off a dark squared bishop, and then you put everything on a dark square. And I mean, white's ideas here include something like maybe centralizing the queen and pushing in the middle, maybe b4, b5 type of stuff. We'll see. She puts her knight on e5. Another idea, knight e5 and maybe pawn to f4. Just like, it's going to be very difficult for black to remove the knight. So she challenges the center with c5. Bibisara plays knight e4, queen e7, and queen f3. So now if black takes, white is going to play rook d1, rook e1, and try to generate an attack. White doesn't actually have any attack whatsoever. If black plays a couple more accurate moves, like here bishop d7 is preferred by the engine, the idea of bishop d7 is to play knight c6 or even bishop c6 and then take back with that piece. If you play knight c6 immediately, then after this trade, you have a weakness on c6 potentially. But bishop d7 would be a nice, cool equalizing move. She plays knight c6, which is also reasonable, but now, obviously, there are some positional nuances here to take care of. Still, it's going to be very difficult for Bibisara to advance on this side of the board. Black is always ready there with a pawn. So overall, the position is kind of mutually assured destruction. Like, nobody can really make that much progress. Queen d6, knight e4. In fact, here we might just be heading for a draw. I actually think I can't quite count the repetitions, but if after knight e4 she went back to e7, I'm pretty sure that's 3-time repetition. Yes, right? So we had this position once, then we have it second time. This is the second time, and queen e7 would be a draw. So black could actually claim a draw here. She doesn't. She plays queen b8, which is the best move. And actually, black is better because black has long-range pieces. So Bibisara plays rook d2. I don't think she was particularly thrilled that the game is proceeding. And, the higher-rated player, Chinese player, just starts to take over the game. That's why she's 2580. She's actually 2555 at the moment. She's no longer the #1 woman in the world unofficially because she just played a tournament in Prague Masters, which I just double-checked. But okay, she's very, very close, like within 5-10 points. Rook d5, it's a very stable game. h5, h4. Black continues to rip open the center, trying to challenge Bibisara. E takes d4. But this little swap of this pawn for this pawn makes the game a lot more dangerous than originally. Because now white has 2 pawns that are going to get moving, and black has 2 pawns that might get moving. And b4 on the board. The computer even likes g5. You can just out of nowhere launch an attack against the white king while the queen is over here. Queen's over there on the other side of the world. So rook b5 is played. Queen a4. g5 now. She doesn't play g5. She doesn't sense the danger. Queen e1 is a threat. But the queen comes back and white's about to go. a4, a5, a6 is unstoppable. Black can't really push. She goes rook e5. King g2 stops any back rank infiltration from being too much of a threat. And suddenly, Bibisara, it's almost like a grappling match. You know? Jiu-jitsu, like a submission, like dominant position wrestling. Somehow in this battle, white emerges with just a straightaway pawn, just running away. Rook d8. Bibisara plays a5. Rook d5. Knight back to d3. Rook goes to a1. White is going to recoordinate herself. She wins the pawn on c6. She now has 2 runaway pawns. And before you know it, while there is a little bit of counterplay in the position for black to find, Bibisara has pushed both of the pawns to the 6th rank. The game is finished. You cannot defend against that. This pawn never managed to make it through, and there is no attack against the king. She gets one opportunity, Zhu Jiner, to create a checkmate threat because the pawn is pinned. But after king g2, the pawn promotes, and the rook covers the king, and there are simply no more checks. You start giving checks, and this is the end of the game because the queen is going to come in, and here you can even end the game in style. Sack the queen, queen f8, and rook f7, and black has to give away her queen. What a game! And Bibisara now has 5, back up to the leaderboard. Like, right, I mean, she was always in the leaderboard, but, you know, back up to the leadership position. This game was so wild because there was a draw on the board, and you kind of got to ask yourself, if you're leading the tournament, do you just take the draw with black? You know? Like, really? Like, what do you do? And she had an opportunity, but the big moment came, rook d5, knight c5, and, you know, this moment here with e5, like, just how dangerous was this position for black to go into? Did she need to be a little bit more careful? Did she need to sense the danger and launch a counterattack against the king? That's probably what had to happen. Now, this game, it's a devastating game for one of the 2 players and the fans. Divya versus Goryachkina. I'm gonna... You didn't see anything. You saw absolutely nothing. Shh. If you did see something, just disregard it. I'm actually gonna double check that doesn't happen again. I don't know why that happens sometimes. Sometimes the overall score of a player pops up, and sometimes it doesn't. And I'm not gonna, you know, we're not gonna restart this. We are 23 minutes into this thing. Divya versus Goryachkina. It was a Spanish. The opening, not the most important thing we have to dissect. It was a very old school Spanish. Played many, many times. Locked position with a lot of maneuvering. And, I mean, it was a rich game. Again, some of these games I oversimplify, but it's like I could spend 23 minutes analyzing this entire game, but really I want to focus on this endgame. Knight for bishop. White has a queenside majority of 2-on-1. It does look very fruitful. I thought this one was going to be a draw. I thought it was even going to be one of these games that I have to analyze while the game is, like, happening, you know, live. Now, this is an endgame that even here, I'm thinking, like, this has to be a draw. Like, I don't see how this can't be a draw. But the problem is, it's a little hard for white to get her king out. Because if she plays king g3, which is normal in the endgame, king f6, king f2, black takes the center with the king, and that's very unpleasant. And you can't go to f4, obviously, because you would be losing the pawn on g2. So it's not so simple how to get the king into the game. Now, the way that she plays it, by creating the pass pawn, is correct. And maybe now would have been the moment to go for this and then reposition the knight, like to c3, and after this, go with the pawn. But it's let's see how Divya chooses to do it. Divya goes here and pushes it all the way, which is still fine, because now the king is going to have to walk over. She plays knight c4. Tricky move. That's how she activates her knight. You can't take it. The pawn promotes. And now she goes knight e5. It might have been a little bit better to go to a5, because on a5, you at least don't let the king get close at all. Knight a5 might have been the move. And on a5, what you then do is you probably play something like king g1, f4, king f2, and then you go for g3, h4, and this kind of stays. Because black can't actually approach the pawn. Black has to go this way, and that's not actually possible, because then b7. So that might have been the configuration. She needed to find knight a5. She probably thought she needs to activate her knight a little bit better than that. But then when she went back to b2 and c4, the king is there, and now she can't play knight a5. So she needed to play b6, knight a5. That was the mechanism that would have prevented black from getting all the counterplay. And now the position is very challenging because you have to find a way to break this apart, or else black is going to attack your knight, win your pawn, and then probably win the endgame. And apparently the only way to do that is to play the move h4. To lose the pawn like this, to split these pawns up, because if black plays this, you win with check and you win the pawn. h4 was the money move, or the absurd b7 takes knight b2, and the idea is simply to put the king on f3 and prevent this king from getting here, because of this, now you play h4. All the drawing ideas for white have to do with the move h4. But she plays g3. And the reason this is nearly losing immediately is because black gets to play h5, and now when you play h4, I've made my pass pawn. That is the situation that white needs to avoid. You cannot run around, the pawn will promote. The knight cannot defend two pawns that are so far apart, because with black, you're just going to come here and promote this one or this pawn. Brutal, brutal game, but she misses it. She misses it, but she gets it on the next move. In this position, apparently, after knight e5, king b6, h4 was still a draw. Divya had the half a point in her hand. She had it. And the reason this is a draw is because, yes, the king is going to go win the pawn, but you are always going to win this one. So, for example, knight d7, king c3, knight c5, I'm not going to take the bishop. I'm going to sack my knight for the pawn. So, Divya, in a moment, this was really a moment of madness. Like, more than anything else, she definitely understands that after knight b2, the knight is passive and black might go for this h5, but she probably thought she's going to take the pawn. Knight e5, king b6, and h4 is the draw. But this is not the draw. And now white does not have an opportunity, and it's actually a whole lot worse than that, because now when you take, my pawn promotes. The king cannot enter the square. The square in chess is a concept where the amount of squares from promotion, like this, 3, you are this way, the king has to enter this box to stop the pawn, and you literally cannot do that. So after king d4, h3, the game is lost. Goryachkina wins her first game of the candidates. It only took her 10 games, which is incredible. That is not a stat that I thought I would be reading off. 2 games ended in draws this round. Muzychuk versus Vaishali. Vaishali with the black pieces against the person that's trying to catch her. Unlike some of the Vaishali games of this tournament and the Muzychuk games, very solid game. Muzychuk tends to have some games like this. If she doesn't have a big momentum shift early, she's not going to take massive risk. Bishop endgame, not too much. Lagno Tandrongi was interesting for about 5 moves. It was a very sharp opening. It was an O'Kelly Sicilian, which is what you play with black in a candidates when you are tilting a little bit and trying to, throw the opponent off. Lagno knew it, even though she got kind of deep in the tank. And then she had an opportunity on the 29th move or 30th move right here to be much better in an ensuing endgame. She needed to play bishop c5 and rook d6. And the idea would have been to just go for that pawn on a6. That would have been the most effective way to go for it. But she played rook d6 right away, going for this endgame. But this endgame is just a draw. We actually saw this endgame in earlier in the gentleman's group where, rook b2, rook a2 stops that pawn. The white king can't run over. I think we saw it, was it a Hikaru game? It was a 3-on-3 with an a-pawn. I think it may be a Yesipenko game. It was in the first half. I can sit here and think, but I'm too tired. But yeah, I mean, it's a draw. Black. Yeah, I think it was Hikaru Yesipenko. It was Hikaru maybe with the black pieces or with the white. I don't know. Maybe it was Hikaru versus somebody else. I'm tired, man. You guys know what I'm talking about. There was that game where white tried to run over here. Maybe it was a different Yesipenko game. But there was nothing there. There was nothing there. The chance, she had to not trade the bishop, but this game ultimately does end in a draw as well. And so, we check in on the standings. Women, Vaishali is your leader with 4 rounds to go, but it's only half a point. In the next game, she plays Goryachkina, who can catch her with a victory. 2 people have 5.5. And Divya will look to bounce back, dropping to second to last, which is crazy. But if she wins the next game, she'll be in second place. 4 rounds to go. All of the women are going to be looking for victories. And 6 of the men are basically eliminated realistically from winning this tournament, which is sad. This was a sad candidates. I mean, what is this? And you know, I think there's a misconception here. I think people are like, oh, Sindarov's going to destroy Gukesh in the match. No, I think one-on-one is totally different. I really do. I think against anybody, Gukesh's chances are at least like 40 to 45%. I don't think he's the favorite. I think he has struggled, but yeah, so we will see. Historic day in the world of chess. 8 out of 10 for Sindarov. This dude is just a monster, just an absolute unit. 6 wins and 4 draws. He has more wins than draws in a candidates. What the? Unbelievable. Insane. That's all I have for you today. Yeah, you know the drill. I'll see you for the... Oh, we have a rest day tomorrow. Tomorrow's a rest day. So, post something else. Get out of here.